Hello, I'm Oliver Quixley, amateur filmmaker and special effects enthusiast. Special effects have played a massive role in the art of filmmaking, dating right back to the earliest days of film, and the level to which they have advanced since then is astounding. Today I'd like to share with you a brief history of some significant special effects throughout the ages, along with a little 1-minute film at the end where I'll demonstrate all the effects and techniques presented in this video. So without further ado, let's get started, because we have a lot to cover and I have to keep this as close to 10 minutes as possible. Guess that means I'll have to cut out the sick Irish tin whistle solo. In 1895, cinema pioneer Alfred Clark and his famous colleague Thomas Edison directed and produced a film together entitled The Execution of Mary Stuart, which depicts Mary, Queen of Scots, being decapitated. The film uses an effect known as the stop trick, created by Clark himself, which basically involves stopping the camera mid-scene, changing something in the scene, recording the camera again, and then cutting those two clips together to make one seemingly magical effect. For example, the stop trick was used in the short to provide the illusion of the decapitation. The actress was led up to the chopping block, and then as the executioner raised his axe, they stopped the camera, replaced the actress with a dummy, and he swung down and decapitated the dummy. The problem with this effect, of course, is that it doesn't really look that good. It's very obvious to spot the jump in the footage. But back then, that didn't matter, as it was a groundbreaking technique and the foundation for special effects as a major industry today. Although, personally, I preferred the 1989 remake starring Tim Allen as both characters. Fun fact, this was possibly the first film to use trained actors, as all other films before it were actually just simple things such as shots of a train moving or the everyday hustle and bustle of a city street in Paris. Now, technically, the concept of animation dates as far back as the Paleolithic period, but to keep things moving, I'm going to skip advancements like rock art and the zoetrope and start from the beginning of film animation, which occurred in 1898. It was pioneer James Stewart Blackton who created the first stop-motion animated film, The Humpty Dumpty Circus, followed by 1906's Humorous Phases of Funny Faces, which was the first fully animated short recorded on picture film. Now, it's because of these films that Blackton is now considered the father of American animation, inspiring others to try out this new technique themselves, reinventing and refining it until eventually pioneers such as Walt Disney and his team created feature-length animated movies, making 2D animation a wildly successful new form of film for the general public to enjoy. Nowadays, animation in all its forms is just as popular as live-action movies, as people come up with new concepts and ways to express themselves through it. I just think it's so cool how the art of animation, just like the special effects industry itself, has snowballed from humble beginnings into just this massive industry. In the last 20-odd years, it's become possible for the general public to create their own films at home, such as this one I've made for your entertainment.
The History Channel presents The Roaring Twenties.
That took me about 6 hours to make. Animation is hard. One of my absolute favourite types of practical effects is the concept of miniatures, which are essentially very small-scale models of anything meant to seem much larger in a film. For example, giant vehicles, cities, Tim Allen's ego, castles, etc, etc. Miniatures are quite often used for destruction scenes, as it's much easier, safer, cheaper, and more legal to explode a small model of a city rather than detonating a few dozen tons of dynamite and obliterating a real city. Miniatures are created to look incredibly realistic and almost impossible to distinguish from real life, which is what I find so cool about them. The first miniature effects were used by Georges Méliès in his 1902 film A Trip to the Moon to create the effect of a rocket ship crashing into the moon. The effect has been used since in dozens, possibly hundreds of films, most notably including the starships in all the Star Wars films, some of the impressively massive cities in Lord of the Rings, and the ship Titanic in James Cameron's film of the same name. Even the scale models themselves can be quite massive. A lot of the cities in Lord of the Rings are around 4 to 5 times the height of an average person. One especially impressive use of a miniature would have to have been in 2012's The Impossible, which simulated a tsunami by having a team create an entire holiday resort at a 1/3 scale, and then flooding it with a 1.5 meter wave to create the devastating impact of a tsunami with as little digital work as possible, and the result was fantastic. Of course, in recent years with CGI becoming more impressive and dominant in films, miniatures aren't really needed that much anymore, but it seems filmmakers love sticking with the hands-on, practical, old-school approach that they know and love, and I'm not complaining. For the purpose of this project, and to learn a little bit more about miniatures, I decided to create my own miniature skyscraper, which took a lot longer than expected, and I almost didn't get it done in time. Here's how I did it. I started by figuring out the measurements of everything on the set, my only guideline being the fact that I wanted it roughly around 3/4 of my own height. Then, to figure out how I wanted it to all look, I drew up a rough sketch of my design, planned and acquired the materials needed, and redid the design to scale in Photoshop for better accuracy. Then my dad and I built the walls of the building. I lied about the building thing. I'm just a really resourceful hobo who steals people's stuff. Tim Allen would be jealous. We applied an undercoat, a dark grey base coat, and then a silver coat, which created exactly the look I was going for. We attached the windows for me to key out later and started on the rest of the set, drawing out the measurements on the board before starting. We made some pretty good looking asphalt for the road out of sand, and then made little sidewalks, shop fronts and alleyways, finishing it up with a little bit of parkland on one side of where the main building was to go. And then, after the painstaking hours of hard work, blood, sweat and tears, I did what any rational person would do, and I smashed it. Just completely decimated it. It doesn't exist anymore. I also burnt it. Like, it's gone. But of course, I didn't put it entirely to waste, as I used it as the main prop in the short film at the end of this presentation. I wouldn't just waste it like that. That'd be stupid. Like, it took so long, you have no idea. Almost every modern movie nowadays makes use of a camera rig of some form. Camera rigs are systems which stabilize camera movement or allow for certain types of shots that would be harder to get without them. Two great examples of this would be the dolly and the Steadicam. You'd be surprised with the amount of support a dolly can provide for your camera. That's not my camera. A dolly is a rig which allows smooth movement of the camera along tracks laid down on the ground and is quite popularly used in modern day films. It revolutionized the film industry by allowing transportation and fluid movement of the camera while filming. One very common use of the dolly is the walk and talk shot, a cliche used in many movies and TV shows in which two characters walk alongside one another having a conversation while the camera follows them from the front. The great thing about dollies is that they're not restricted to big budget studios. Cheaper ones can be bought for independent films, and those on a budget can even make one themselves. However, they can be quite heavy and awkward to move around, which is why many other filmmakers opt for the Steadicam, a lighter, more portable alternative to the dolly. In 1975, inventor and cameraman Garrett Brown created the Steadicam, a device that rivaled the dolly by providing the same smoothness of shot but allows for more maneuverability and portability, ditching the need for tracks. It absorbs the slightest bumps and jolts made by the camera operator, effectively eliminating them. The Steadicam was first used in the Hal Ashby film Bound for Glory in 1976 to great success. It then attracted the attention of director Stanley Kubrick, resulting in it being used in his famous film adaptation of The Shining in 1980, specifically for the famous tricycle scene. Fun fact, one amazing but lesser known use of the Steadicam is the 96-minute historical drama film Russian Ark, which was filmed entirely in one take. It makes me happy to think how easy it must have been for the editors of that film. Many modern films and TV shows make use of a blue or green screen to aid in their visual trickery, an effect which is commonly known as Chroma Keying. This effect is most often used to provide the illusion that the actors are in a place that is unideal or impossible to film in, such as the middle of the desert, on a barren alien planet, in the northern suburbs of Adelaide. The effect originates from the late 19th century, where a black draping would be used in the shot and then replaced in post-production with the desired image or footage. However, the first proper use of a blue screen has been credited to special effects artist Larry Butler, who used a blue screen to make a genie escape a bottle in the 1940 film The Thief of Baghdad. Blue was originally the most popular color for this effect, as the blue emulsion layer of film has the finest crystals, which results in minimal grain in the resulting shot. Plus, since blue is generally not found in the tones of human skin, it means that placing a human in front of a blue screen can result in a really high quality effect. However, when the digital age of film rose to fame, the color green overtook blue, as digital cameras have more detail in the green channel, plus it requires less light than blue. It's amazing how we can almost instantly add a chroma key effect digitally these days, as the original process was a very time-consuming, complex frame-by-frame process involving multiple layers and exposures. I actually get sort of fidgety thinking about how painstakingly long the process used to be, and I'm so glad that I live in the digital age of film. And now I'd like to take my hat off for CGI. Well, actually, I just forgot to bring the hat in today, because I'm really bad at organizing stuff. Hire me, I'll organize your party. Just kidding, I'll probably forget to show up. Anyway, get ready because this is one of the most expansive areas that I've researched and there is a lot to cover. Computer-generated imagery, or CGI, is exactly as the name implies. Any imagery that's been used in art, film, video games, or simulations that has been mostly or entirely created digitally within a computer program. Many modern-day films employ CGI as the go-to technique to create their effects, and it is quite commonly used to create increasingly realistic materials, worlds, and characters for film and video games. And as the technology advances, it's becoming more impossible to distinguish computer-generated effects and materials from real life. One of the earliest known 3D rendered creations was by uni students Ed Catmull and Fred Park, who created a digital rendering of a hand in 1972. Catmull made a plaster model of his hand and drew 350 small polygons on it, which the duo used to create the digital model by measuring the distances between the corner points and typing them into a program Catmull had created. Once the model was digitally rendered, they were able to use the program to animate it on screen. The first ever use of CGI in an actual film was the 1974 movie Westworld, which employed 2D generated imagery for some of its effects. And the first use of 3D CGI in film was selected clips from the previously mentioned hand animation in the 1976 sequel to Westworld. Soon after, CGI really picked up in film, being improved and used heavily to create films such as 1982's Tron, and also played a large role in the animation industry in the move away from traditional cell animation. In 1993, the world was blown away by the CGI used in Jurassic Park, which was the first film to use physically textured CGI, resulting in incredibly realistic-looking dinosaurs. The next giant leap was in 1995 when Pixar released the world's first fully computer-generated film, Toy Story, which set up a whole new way in which films could be created. From there, CGI picked up even more, with the dawn of motion capture technology taking the film industry by storm. Motion capture technology is where an actor's scenes are filmed with them wearing a special suit laden with tracking points, which records their movement precisely into a computer program so it can be applied to a 3D model. The first use of this to make a computer-generated character come face-to-face with a filmed actor was in The Lord of the Rings to animate and create the character of Gollum. And now, as we draw to a close in this section, I'd like to give special mention to one of the most amazing accomplishments in the world of CGI, which has to be James Cameron's 2009 film Avatar, which introduced a groundbreaking new type of motion capture technology, allowing for the digitally generated characters to be viewed in real time on the set as the actors moved about, so as to allow Cameron to see the digital result there and then. I just love some of the amazing things being created with CGI these days, and I can't wait to see what mind-blowing technique is invented next. Now, before we wrap everything up, I'd like to quickly show you a short film I've created which demonstrates all the effects and techniques presented in this video, and it's the reason I spent so much time making that miniature. It's probably taken about as much work to create this short film than it has the entire rest of this video, so I really hope it paid off, and I hope you enjoy.
The History Channel presents The Roaring Twenties.
Lazy effort.
So that draws this presentation to a close. I'm Oliver Quixley, and it's been my pleasure to give you this little bit of insight into the vast world of special effects, and I hope you found this video both informative and entertaining. If it was, please drop a like and a comment and subscribe if you're new to this channel, or Tim Allen will haunt your dreams.
It's just reruns of Home Improvement, and on the worst nights, all his Christmas films back to back.
Hi, I just wanted to apologize for all the Tim Allen jokes in this video. Tim, Timothy, Timmy G, Tim Dog, Timmy Jimmy Jim Jam. If you're watching this, I'm really sorry. Please don't sue me. I have a lot of respect for your career as an actor. I can't wait for Jungle 3 Jungle, and I really think that... Oh, sorry, can I just get a glass of water? Yeah, can you get, just, sorry, my throat feels... Guys, I just realized that because of this outro screen, I have time for something very, very special. My Irish tin whistle solo.